to be in that situation where I can be vulnerable on stage, because of course it's like it's one thing to throw sets or to just to throw power moves or just to but I'm wearing my heart on my sleeve, and it really meant a lot when I would get messages from kids like, yo, like you inspired me to dance, you're the, you make me feel like I'm not alone. And I remember being a kid like 13, 14, depressed and full of anxiety, feeling like I'm alone in this world. So to be kind of that role model in a way, just off of being myself on a stage, I think is already the win. So I'm very satisfied.
Very quickly, before we start, I want to say a big thank you to CB Diablo, who are bringing us today's show. We have a special gift for all of our viewers here. Go to cbdiablo.co.uk. They ship worldwide, and use the promo code STANCE15 for 15% off your total order. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the first interview of 2023 here on Stance Elements. I'm honestly so excited for this one, but before we get into it all, I want to say a huge thank you to everybody that has been checking out these interviews since last year. What a journey. It has been incredible doing these, and I greatly appreciate everybody checking them out, leaving your comments, sharing the interviews, and giving us your feedback, the good and the bad. It's all appreciated here. And I'm just so excited for this one. The last time I spoke to this guy, he just won Red Bull Dance Your Style USA, and he has returned from the World Finals in South Africa. I'm with the crown. What's up, my man? It's really good to see you again.
Yes, it is a pleasure. Yes, we are back.
Just to talk to me about what had happened from winning the USA qualifier up to just as you were leaving. What was your mindset like? What was your mentality? How was your training? Just everything leading up to the World Finals.
Right. Yeah, no, the training was definitely crazy. It was a lot. I feel like a lot of it was mostly physical therapy. Kind of with my leg, because I went to a therapist, and they told me like I have a weight shift in my body because, I tore my meniscus like 2 years ago or so. So a lot of my weight has been on my left side. So I had a sprained ankle and a weak ankle because of that. So a lot of that is kind of trying to find that balance to bring that back. So leading up, a lot of physical training, but also mental as well, in terms of the music and things like that.
So was that weight shift? I first thought it was going to be in your hips when you first mentioned that, but was it really impacting your movement?
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely a lot of my ankle because it's been carrying a lot of that weight, but it's nice that you mentioned the hips because definitely my lower back as well. I remember in the USA finals, I had a lot of troubles with my lower back. So, and I figured out that was the main reason was because of that imbalance of weight.
So then how did that impact your preparations leading up to the World Finals when you think about all the physical therapy you had?
Yeah, it definitely made me have to tap into an extra hour or two of training. I feel like because not only did I have to train, I had to condition. Especially like I feel like especially when I, reach the ground sometimes or I do a lot of like groundwork, I have a time limit, before it starts to kind of like a little hurt or like feel weak. So trying to like elongate that time limit and like stretch it out, through the training.
Was it something that you were anxious about, knowing that that's the amount of effort you needed to give for the
Mm.
World Finals, and you're thinking, oh no, I have these limitations, and I just like, how were your thoughts around that?
Yeah, well, I'm human, so it definitely did cross my mind a few times, but I feel like with my journey, I've always been really good at just dealing with the cards I'm dealt, and just moving forward, like I feel like what's meant to be will be. And I've always been like, okay, so, you know, with, whether the pandemic and things getting canceled, like I feel like over time I've been really good with just dealing with, okay, this is life right now, and I got to just keep moving forward.
That's amazing. Just and now everything's opened up anyway. which is awesome.
Yeah.
But considering the injuries and considering the therapy and everything going into that, how ready were you for the world finals? Like, if you had to rate yourself out of a 10, how ready did you feel?
Okay, okay. Okay, so I had to do the pre-final and then the final. So for the pre-final, I'll say I was mentally a 10, physically maybe like a 7. I would say a 7. And then I think for the world final, I think mentally and physically I was both a 10.
So before you even traveled to South Africa, you were already on it and you already felt like you
Yeah,
had it
I
in the
was ready
bag.
to go. I was ready to go, you know. Um, I was definitely, I feel like it was a good time for me because mentally I was just prepared for anything.
So when you're considering that, you know, the format this year was a little different, they invited everybody and everybody battled, right?
Yeah, everyone battled. It was crazy.
So did that change any sort of preparations or your mentality going into it, knowing that okay, you're not only invited to the world finals just to do the world finals business, there's also this extra step there
Yeah.
too.
I feel like this kind of competition is kind of what I signed up for, you know, like a competition of just everybody that are like world class dancers, you know. I feel like this is kind of what a lot of us train for is to battle against other champions, you know. So going into it, at first I was definitely like, wow, like 74 different like champions from 74, you know, different countries and all these different places that have won in their country and, you know, all deserving to be there. At first it was definitely like, wow, that's a lot of people, you know, and I'm one out of 70 something. But definitely as I got there, it I felt very motivated for sure. I feel like just seeing everybody shine, it made me feel more comfortable to be myself.
That's good because you get people when they travel that far for an event that's massive, they're in a different mindset. It's like they're going to war. But it sounds like you're saying it was all love. You were inspired by everybody that you saw, and it helped you to enjoy the moment more.
Yes, exactly. It was I'm still inspired to this like I made so many new friends and connections. I'm just excited for the future because it's gonna be crazy.
So then, just walk me through this. So you get to the first sort of day, the first round, let's say.
Mhm.
How did you feel about your rounds? Like, did you execute everything as you wanted to? Were you in the zone? I know you mentioned that the energy out there was insane. So just walk me through how that first day worked out for you.
So yeah, my first competition, my first pre-final, it was I feel like my first rounds, I think mentally, like I said, I was there, but physically I realized like, you know, I warmed up, I was good, I was everything. But then when the music started, I feel like my body wasn't really paying attention to mentally what I was trying to do. Um, so as it went on, I feel like I realized just as a competitor, I'm one of those that like gets better as the battle keeps going. So during those first rounds, definitely, I mean, I won the first round, but I definitely feel like um it was an adjustment over time. And I thought it was also interesting. I faced only poppers. So I thought that
Only
was really
poppers.
interesting. Yeah, yeah, which was dope because I don't usually face poppers. I'm usually facing like hip hop dancers or crump dancers, you know. So I thought that was also really cool. So yeah, that's how I felt.
If you're only battling those guys, then does anything change with your rounds?
Mm,
Because naturally you're thinking one style against another. There's maybe like a compromise you need to make. There's maybe assumptions made about how the rounds will be judged. Well, they prefer the hip hop dancer to the poppers because also it's the audience that votes, right?
yeah, it's the audience that votes. So that's the tough thing, you know, because and I feel like realizing a majority of the dancers actually that were out there were poppers. And I think a lot of that is because it's very eye catchy, like the contractions of the muscles and things like that, and how, you know, heavy and hard you can hit a beat. It definitely catches the audience's eye. So for me going up against that, I think something that made me stand out, I'd have to say probably the musicality and like charisma. as well as the dynamics of what I would do, as well. I feel like a lot of times, uh, most poppers, not all, but most poppers would be in like a certain pocket, but I kind of jump in and out of different pockets of the music. So I think that's something that is eye catchy that I think the crowd resonated with. So
So then would you say that's just like a general piece of advice for hip hop dancers if they want to battle against a popper and have success?
yeah, I would say so. I would say definitely try not to feed into like, okay, because they're doing, they're popping, I have to, imitate that, because you feed into that, then I don't know, it might not end out very well. But for sure, I would say play to your strengths.
Yeah, because like there's so many thoughts that are rushing through my head as soon as you say that, because it's like we've all had a time when you're battling against someone that does something a little different to you, and because you might not have that, you might feel as though that you're at a disadvantage.
Right.
Because as a b-boy against a hip-hop dancer, the natural thing to think is, oh, the hip-hop dancer is more in rhythm. So then you're
Hmm.
thinking, oh, well, what do I do against that? So it's interesting having these conversations and thinking, as long as you do what you know you can do and you execute it really well and you're in your element and you're feeling good, then you should be fine.
Yeah, 100%. Like to me, it's about at that point, if it's like skill versus skill, it's so hard for like, a crowd to judge that. So I think the best thing you can do is just execute, what you can do very well, but also put a feeling behind that. Because then at that point, it's like, okay, can you make the crowd feel something with these techniques that you've been doing for years?
Word. No, that makes a whole lot of sense. So you made it into the world finals, you made it into the top 16. Walk me through your emotions when you found out. Walk me through your emotions when you found out who you were up against. Yeah.
Dope. Yeah, well, when I first found out I made it to the top 16, I was like, yes. Because I was like, like a year ago, I had found out we had to do a whole pre-final and stuff. And I was like, dang, I have to do another competition just to, get to the final. But, when I made top 16, I was like, all right, cool, cool. I mean, I didn't really get too much of a break, because the next day we had to do a lot of like media shoots and stuff. And then the next day was the battle, like right away. So um, I didn't get physically much of a break, but I was pumped. I was very pumped and excited. In terms of figuring out the wild card I was against, I didn't really know him. At the time. I didn't know who he was. I feel like he was really quiet. So I seen him around obviously, but I didn't know much of him until like a few dancers like, oh yeah, that's like D Rocky. Yeah, yeah, super tight, super dope. And I was like, oh, cool, cool. And then I looked into my man. I was like, should I look him up? I was like, nah, 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 nah. I'm not gonna look him up. We're just gonna do what we do because I'm sure he doesn't know me either. So yeah, it was dope. That's how I felt. I just went in with a clear mind.
That's what happens, right? It's usually the reserved ones that speak the loudest when they dance, and you're
Yeah.
like, holy crap, where did this come from? You hardly spoke to me, but now you're just so energetic and wild. And
Yeah.
he's been going viral. And so have you as well. Just since that, like, because your top 16 battle has been one of the most anticipated battles from that whole event.
Wow, yeah, no, that's crazy. It definitely it blows my mind to this day because I feel like that was a beautiful exchange. Well, not even exchange, a beautiful battle. It was a beautiful battle, and I feel like I'm very grateful. I'm grateful for the experience. I'm grateful for Red Bull. Grateful for him. Um, yeah, just to flip the script, how did you feel about it? I'm sure you've seen the battle. How'd you feel?
I'm not there to judge. I'm just like, I love it. Absolutely
Yeah,
love it.
loving it. Yeah.
Because that's the thing, because it's like, there's some battles that you watch
Mhm.
and you think to yourself, you're more analytical and you're thinking, oh, what did they do? What didn't they do? Especially if you know already who won. You're thinking, okay, well, how did they win? What did they do? That's a little different. But for this, I'm like, yo, I'm good. I'm
Right.
enjoying this.
Great.
But
Yeah.
tell me though, like, how did you feel about that battle? Like, did you feel as though you won? Did you feel as though that you were leaving that battle thinking I had it? Or did you know that the result was going to be what it was?
Mm, wow, that's a great question.
Because
Um,
sometimes people know.
yeah, yeah. So, that's a great question. Okay, I feel like how I felt in the moment. I think I'll just walk it through round by round how I
Yeah.
felt. This is what the people want to know.
Oh yeah.
I feel like the first round was for me, I think my first round was I think I raised the bar very high. Because if you don't know, blue side goes second, so all the wild cards go second. And given the format of Red Bull Dancer style, that is a somewhat of an advantage because you get the last statement. So my first round, I raised the bar, I feel like pretty high. I feel like he responded super well. So when I seen him dancing, I was like, oh, this is great. Like, this is a battle. Like, this is great. Like, and I was enjoying it. I don't know if like the camera ever showed, but I was like smiling, like, yeah, like go off. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like the first round, I want to edge it to me, if I'm being honest. The second round I think is more debatable. I feel like the second round, I can see that being edged to him. Honestly, because I feel like I feel like nobody knows your dance more than yourself, and I just have to be honest. So I think realistically, I would have probably given that a tie, or I could see it being edged to him or me either way. But and even when I was looking out in the crowd, like after the battle, it was very like evened out, you know. Even the MC was like very confused on what was going on. So how I feel is I think it was just a beautiful battle and a beautiful moment. And my thing is when I left the stage initially, I know when I lose, and I didn't feel like I lost. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't necessarily feel like I won either. I feel like it should have been more. But um I feel like once again I'm good with dealing with the cards that I'm dealt. And I know, even though, it went by so quick, I feel like the impact is everything, you know. And I feel like I'm really grateful for the impact that it's had because I feel like I've always wanted to kind of be in that situation and the fact that it's even like a debatable thing is really beautiful in itself. But to be in that situation where I can be vulnerable on stage, because of course it's one thing to throw sets or to throw power moves or just to but I'm wearing my heart on my sleeve, and it really meant a lot when I would get messages from kids like, yo, like you inspired me to dance, you make me feel like I'm not alone. And I remember being a kid like 13, 14, depressed and full of anxiety, feeling like I'm alone in this world. So to be kind of that role model in a way, just off of being myself on a stage, I think is already the win. So I'm very satisfied.
I mean, it sounds like you are anyway. Like even without having to say you're satisfied, because it's like sometimes some people feel like as though they're robbed, and it doesn't matter what they did, they feel robbed, or they feel as though that they were hard done by. Would you say though that this is a moment where if there was actually a judging panel,
Mhm.
it could have been a different outcome? See, when you're talking about it the way that you are, if there were a bunch of judges there, would it have gone the same way? Do you think?
Mm, I think it's
It doesn't change the outcome, unfortunately, but
yeah, no,
we
yeah, I
may
was
as
gonna
well
say
wonder.
yeah, I was gonna say I feel like I've yeah, like you said, it's not gonna change the outcome, but I think it depends on preference, honestly. Because once again, like how I view this is everybody's already a winner. Like before, Saraki won the whole championship, he was already a champion to me. Before I made it to top 16, I was a champion. Da Vinci, before he made it to the finals, he was already the king of kings. Like we're all here, just celebrating dance. So I think if a judge panel was there, I don't know. It depends on, I guess, their view of movement and musicality, and you know whether they are into like this or that. You know what I'm saying? Because he's a beautiful, beautiful mover. As am I. So it's just kind of up in the air. But also something really cool that I remember I talked about before the Chicago qualifier, and hopefully this can be a lesson to anyone watching, is I told myself like, at this point I can't lose, you know, like I can't lose at this point, whether I win, quote unquote, I'm still going to be training hard to live up to whatever status that is, right? And if I quote unquote lose, sometimes I gain more by losing. You know, by losing, you gain experience. By losing, you gain a better format of how to train, more motivation to train. You gain so much by quote unquote losing. So to me, I told myself, I was talking to Kid Nimitz, I was like, yeah, at this point, I can't lose. Like, there's no way. And then, I won the Chicago qualifier, the USA qualifier, made it all the way to the, world finals, won the, so for me, I feel like the biggest takeaway from this is there are no excuses because like you said, there are a lot of dancers that be like, I was robbed and blah 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 blah, like but at the end of the day, you just got to get better. That's it. Whether you feel like you were already at that level, you know, you just have to get better. That's it.
I would say that's the perfect way to round this off. Dude, thank you so much for your time. It's been amazing to have a catch up with you, and I'm sure this won't be the last time you're here, and I'm sure that I'll see you soon.
Yes, I will see you soon too. Peace and love.